Hey up everybody and welcome back. I've got a couple of things to do today, mostly to do with the saddle, which you'll see shortly, but I'll give you an update on a couple of things. First being my knee, which seems to be coming along well. Doesn't feel too loose, in fact hardly feels loose at all, just the odd click. Now it's more sort of stiff muscles around it, what have you. So my knee's getting better, but my memory isn't. I forgot to wear my hat. So bear with me for that. Right, what we're going to do today is mostly look at the saddle. I've looked around at some and couldn't really find one I liked, or one I thought would fit without having to start taking it apart. So if I'm going to do all that, probably regret saying this, but I'll have a go at making one myself. So first thing though is the instrument mounting, which elicited a lot of responses, and basically all of them the same. So I reworked the template as per your instructions, slimmed it down a bit, cut into the top. I didn't go too far because I didn't want to weaken it too much in here. Don't forget we've got it bolted down here and all the weight is up here, so you know I don't want it to start doing that. So I've slimmed it down to what I think is quite a nice shape. And I also, can't remember who it was, but someone mentioned cutting out the centre. So I made some measurements and I didn't think it would weaken it too much, so I cut that out so you can get at the headstock nut. I'm also going to put the little bend in it as suggested. And I'll show doing that because I've spent a little bit of money and I've got a couple of things to show you in the other half of the workshop. So we'll cut that out and remount the clocks and see how it all looks. Hey, it's me again. I just looked at that last bit of video, which I like to do to make sure I'm actually in the picture, and I realised you could see all this here. And you were thinking, oh god, he's turned into an alcoholic. Well, I'm not really. Mark, who owns the Topper, called round, and he hadn't been able to find in Newcastle Brown, so he brought me a couple of local IPAs. So there we go, that'll keep me going. But now, on with work. So there we are with it cut out. And I've gone wrong somewhere, look. I didn't quite get the bottoms exactly the same, so who knows, might end up making another one. But anyway, things have got to move along. So let's put a bend on this line. So here's the first of my recent purchases. It's a bending brake. I've been looking for one, not just to do the sheet metal, but to do brackets and stuff. But I found that as soon as you get to anything that will bend a decent thickness, not only are you looking at a lot of money, but they're all sort of 4 feet long, and I didn't want that. Then I came across this that fits into the press. You can get them with fingers, a box brake, and you can get a bigger one as well. But this one you can even get it in a kit. It all comes and you weld it all together, but I couldn't be pestered doing that, so I bought one ready put together. It's made by a company called Swag Off-Road. So let's see how it works. What I don't want to do is bend it too much, because trying to straighten it out spoil it all together. So there we go. I think that's about enough. Okay, let me swing around and I will show you my other purchase. Da 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 da. What do you think of that? 1336, same size as the Colchester was. This is a Sheldon. But listen to this. It is a really nice lathe. So there you go. Let's go and put this plate on. There you go. We were all right. It did need slimming down. I think that looks very nice now. And I just thought, I think I can. I really don't know what happened there, but I'll put some aluminium weld on there, build it up, and then reshape it, and it'll look fine. Too much work to make another one. So there you go. That's really is basically the front end finished. It was mentioned about the bolts for the headlamp, that get them match up. And do you know what? When I ordered all these bolts, I thought I'd ordered these button ones for there, and the order arrived and they weren't there. But not to worry, we're going to have these button type holding the headlamp on. So that's the front end. Now let's start to look at the saddle. So the first thing we need to know for the saddle is how big it's going to be. So what I'm going to do is sit on it. I'll try and put this this rule where I think it should be, but also of course I'll look at the video and see what it looks like. Oh, okay. So that feels about right. Maybe a little forward. Yeah. Alright, so there. Let's see if I can get off here without oh bugger, I can't reach it. There we go. So that wants to be, I don't know, something like that, because I've got to be able to stand up and there's got to be some space for the upholstery. So something like that. Let's see if I can get off this without breaking my neck. There we go. Right. So what's the design of the saddle going to be? Well, I want it to be a proper racing saddle, proper hump. You'll excuse if the drawings go squirrely, but I'm sort of drawing from the side. So it's going to have, you know, proper hump like that. Now, I did think of making it out of fiberglass, and I watched a couple of videos of people doing it, and that seemed to be a bit of a chew, making moulds and all the rest of it. So I decided I'm going to make it out of aluminium. When we go over to the bike, I'll show you more how we're going to do it. But the big thing was always, how was I going to upholster it? Because, you know, I want a pad like that. Now, on most bikes, you know, if you look at the seat pan like that from the end, so there's the sides and there's the top, you'll do something like, you know, there's the foam. The leather will come over, be pulled tight round there, and then a clip goes on. Or sometimes in the manufacture of the seat, the base, they'll punch through some little tangs. And this time you pull the leather over, you pull it tight, and then you sort of skewer it. I guess the tangs go that way actually. You skewer it onto the tang. So I wasn't quite sure how to do this. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to make it in two pieces. So I'm going to make the base with the hump, and then I'm going to make this part, the upholstery part, on its own separate base that I can just slide in. So then I can make this base, this part here, out of the sort of nylon stuff, the cutting block stuff that I used for making the trial seats. I can have this completely upholstered, and then what I'm going to do is the hump itself will come out a little bit, and I'll put a little side on there, and this whole thing will fit down into there, and it can be bolted through from the bottom. So okay, I decided how I was going to do it. So what was it going to be shaped like? Well, although in the future I'd like to try some sort of sheet metal shaping, I couldn't make this sort of compound curve, you know, curved like that and curved from side to side as well. So what I decided to go with was this idea. In side view, it's going to be like this. There's our base. There's our bum stop. Then what we're going to have is a smaller one here, and it's going to be angled that way, like that. But then from the top, this piece is also going to be slimmer, not just lower at the back, it's going to be slimmer at the back as well. So the seat will look like that. So that's top, that's side. But also, if we look at it from the end, it's going to be shaped. There's the end. There's the bump stop. So it's going to be curved. So it's going to be tapered to the back. It's going to be sloped to the back, and it's going to be curved over the top. The other thing, as you'll see when we go to the frame with an Commando, is that that top tube goes all the way back to here. So it's also going to have a tunnel of some sort. And that actually is one of the reasons why all these universal fit seats, even when I found one that was the right dimensions, I was going to have to start cutting chunks out of it. And if they were already upholstered, of course, I couldn't do that. So that's why I thought, okay, we'll have a go at doing this ourselves. So let's look at the bike and we'll start cutting some cardboard. You can see now what I was talking about the sort of spine of the frame. That instead of it sort of the frame going down to here and being horizontal all the way along there, as most frames are, it actually comes all the way back here. So the seat's going to be up at the front and a bit level at the back. And that's why I couldn't just get a flat saddle, because it would have laid on there and there'd been a huge gap above the side panels. So here's where I marked it, which I think is about 13 1/4, near enough. So that's how long the upholstered piece is going to be. It's actually going to go to about there, because we're going to have the thickness of the upholstery on the bump, which actually I just looked, and when I was talking about how to put the upholstery on, you might have thought, well, that idea of clipping it on, can't you just do that on the sides of the saddle? And of course I could. It's actually the bump. I wouldn't have anywhere to clip it, really. So anyway, that's where I want it. Now I've decided that I want the hump to be 8 inches long. Been looking at stuff and I think that'll be nice. So the hump is going to go to, come on. I've been seeing people using white pens on sort of dark things and on hot rolled steel and stuff, so I actually bought myself a couple. I don't know if they're quite the right ones that I've seen people using, but they work, they're nice. So that's going to be like that. Now I don't want this bit sticking out the back. Hang on, can you see this bit sticking out the back? No, you can't. Can I pull you back anymore? No, I'm going to have to move you back. There we go. So, as I was saying, I don't want to have a piece sticking out the back. If the hump goes to there, and then the saddle. So we're going to take a piece out and move this forward. So that'll work nicely, because as I say, we're going to slim the saddle from front to back. So we'll slim it from the 10 inches here to about 7 inches at the back. So where I'm going to cut it off actually is right up here, so that I can keep the more or less straight piece. I'll take the piece out here, and then this, which is about 10 inches, is going to be about the same as that. So I can just move this forward. We'll put a sleeve in each side, weld it up, and that'll be that. So that's going to be that. So the next thing I need to do is to cut a piece of cardboard the full length. You bugger. I thought that was going to be long enough. Let me see if I can find a longer piece of cardboard or stick another piece onto that. Right, I found a piece that's long enough. I'll mark it out and cut it to shape, but before I do that, I just wanted to show you what I was talking about. Buy a proprietary seat, one, you know, a universal fit or one not for a Commando, and it's going to have a flat base, and you're going to end up with space. You'd have to start making sides, and as I say, if I've got to make all sorts of modifications, I might as well just make the damn thing. So let me mark this and then we'll come back. There's our base cut. And as you can see, even with that cut out, it's still going to have to go down a little bit. So basically, actually it can be flat to about there, so I can modify it. But we'll put a very slight tunnel over that. And then that'll see, that's going to be up a little bit. Going nicely. It goes along flat a little bit. It follows the tubes. Follows the frame tubes. Which is what we want, and comes up to the tank. So the tank sides follow down and then it'll go at the hump. So now the hump. Well, I've made a piece up in cardboard. Just to see, as luck would have it, I had a cardboard box that was 10 inches wide and 8 inches long. So I just had to cut the two ends. So that is actually going to go on there, like that. Can you see that? I had it suggested to me, actually he also suggested it to Steam Shop Dave, from a friend of mine who sort of worked in video production almost all his life, that I should get a little monitor to connect to the camera so that I can look and see what's going on. All sounds very expensive. Anyway, this looks a little odd here, but don't forget that when we've shortened it, that is actually going to go right to the end, like that. So that'll be like that. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is get a little piece of light card to go over that, and we'll actually make the hump. What I'll do is lay the card down and then I'll do that with it to get the right length and the right shape, or supposedly so. So let me do that. Well, I'll show you me doing that anyway. You know something, doesn't matter how many benches I have, I never seem to fail to find any space to work. Alright, so I've laid this out. I'm hoping this is going to be rigid enough to actually be able to draw it as I roll it. So the first part is actually straight. Alright, I've got a feeling this is going to be a little bit hit and miss because it's flexing as I'm rolling it, but we'll do our best. Oh. I've got a feeling this is going to be awful. Another one of those things where the idea was good. What I might have to do is put a couple of strengthening ribs in that so that it's rigid. I've got plenty of this card. And that should join up and be about right, actually. About being the operative word. So I'll tape this box up and then I can unpick the tape, and these are going to be our templates. So that is going to go on there like that. Actually, it's not far off at all. So let me start taping it up. The way you do it is a bit at a time. Stick some bits of tape on, and then put your thing on, just fold them over and fold them over. Alright. Right, I'll show you a bit of this. What you want to do is cut some bits of tape ready, stick them on something hard, don't stick them on a bit of paper. Then put one in a spot you can set to easily, you see. Now we can get that. Let me put that one, I think that's maybe a little bit wider. That at the start. And then we can begin to go over. So you fold it round a bit. That. And start to do the same the other end. See here, I'm going actually the other way, but principle's the same. I can do it this way this side because I've already got some of the shape made up, so it's not going to move too much. Right, let me finish doing this. There's the hump on. That goes down a little bit, like that. What do you think? Trying to keep the line reasonably. Don't want the hump to be too big, but then again I hate these seats that have this little sort of just a minor hump. It's supposed to be a bum stop, and we're aiming for a proper cafe racer, like what we used to make when we were lads. Poverty struck, but with big ideas. No, I think that's alright. I think that'll do nicely. And actually this, when it's up like that, I don't know if you can notice, it's not exactly at right angles, but when you press it down, it is. So, now I'm going to take, as I say, you can just now slit these little bits of tape, and there's all your template for making up the metal pieces. So we'll cut a piece for the bottom. Let's go back to the drawing board because I want to show you how I'm going to make the hump in aluminium. We're going to cut our base piece. Out of aluminium. Then here we're going to weld on our top piece. So I'm thinking of 1/8 inch for that and that. So that gets welded on. Then here, it looks a bit odd, but that's going to be welded on. So now from the side, it's going to look like that, with those pieces welded on. Then with the template that we've just made in card, we're going to cut a piece of 16 gauge so it'll be nice and easy to bend. I might even lash out, because all the aluminium I have is 60-61. So it might be worthwhile getting a piece of one of the more workable grades of aluminium. So what I'll do is, when it's cut, we'll tack it along the bottom here, exactly the same as we did with the tape, and then we'll fold it over and we'll weld it like that. Oh, almost forgot. What I'm also going to do though, to make sure it forms the shape right, is I'm going to weld in a couple of pieces, just strips, so that I'll have the equivalent of a buck, as it's known, to form it over, so that the skin will keep its shape. So they'll be welded in like that, just strips, you know, maybe ½ an inch wide, something like that, just to go, and there'll be, you know, sort of one on each side, one at the top, 3 or 4 of them, just to give me something to form that over. Then that'll all be welded in. Then, as I say, this piece, when I do cut it out, I'm going to cut it a little bit big, so we'll have a lip, and then I'll get some 16 gauge and we'll make a lip on this also. And that, as I say, is where the seat is going to fit in. The upholstered part is going to fit in here. Because this will have sort of a metal edge, I'm going to get some of that black trim stuff for putting on the edges of stuff. It sort of clips over. That'll be nice. And it'll match the black of the upholstery. So it'll just be a black strip. It'll just look as if it's part of the upholstery. So that's how I plan to make it. Now we've got our mock-up and we're happy with everything, we'll start doing the seat itself. So as I said, first thing to do is to shorten this. So what I'm going to do, we know the saddle's going to come to there, so that's 8 inches. So if we take 8 inches out down here, then obviously that will come to there. So I put a couple of bits of tape on in the middle, just to pull it down to where it should be. Good tape, eh? Come on. There we go. Alright. So, if we're going to cut it here, here, and we want 8 inches. It's going to be there. Put a little arrow head on those two, seeing as there's lots of marks. I don't want to cut the wrong one. Okay, so we're going to cut that piece out of there. Now when you're cutting stuff like that, it's a bit like cutting a branch off a tree. If we cut it off here first, then I've got to take this away, put it in the vise and all the rest of it. So what we'll do is we'll cut there, take it off, and then we can just cut those off because they're nicely off. So everything's held while we're cutting. So what have I done with my safety glasses? Hang on while I limp into the other side of the room. Mr. Dillon, Mr. Dillon. See, you get all these blasts from the past. Okay, we're going to do it with a cut-off wheel. There's that bit. Hang on, I'm going to move you because I don't want you getting sparks in your eyes. In fact, tell you what, I'll switch you off and bring you back in a minute, because all I'm going to do is cut this other piece off and then measure the inside diameter so I can make up a couple of plugs. So let me cut it off, make the plugs, and we'll come back when we're ready to weld it on. Right, I've got the little plugs put in, and because there's a slight angle, I haven't got them sticking out too much. So I've chamfered the ends, cleaned them and everything like that. There we go. I think we might have to bend that up a little bit, because there's not much space there, is there? Now, where are we? These units, which are the standard ones, actually only have about 2.5, maybe 3 inches at the most of movement. And we've got 2 3/4 there. So I think we'll tack these in and just warm that up a little bit and just lift it. The seat will still go on fine, I think. Yeah, you see, that was like that before. So we'll just raise that up that little bit, get the saddle right, and then we can cut the base out. So I'll do that and then we'll come back. Now, I laid in bed last night tossing and turning and thinking about this back end, and one of the things that struck me was that 3 inches of rear suspension movement didn't actually follow on that I'd get 3 inches of rear wheel movement because of geometry. So what I've done is taken the shocks off, taken the spring off one, and I've got it pushed up all the way. The wheel's chocked up, so that's as high as the wheel can possibly go. Maybe a fraction of an inch is the bump stop, but I mean, if you're compressing the bump stop, you must be jumping off walls with it. So then I also thought to myself, oh wait a minute, the design of this frame, you know, it has the spine comes all the way back to here to a cross piece. It's triangulated, and we know we're going to sit right on there. This back bit isn't going to be much in the way of weight bearing at all. So I took the loop out and put back in the couple of pieces I cut off, which of course is annoying, and we'll put the seat on and see what it looks like. Now, while we're here, I'll point out, I had one comment at one time about when I put this on, and again the geometry of this compared to the movement of the swinging arm. Well, as you can see, the wheel's at the top of its motion, and the pedal's up against its stop still, and everything is as it should be. Okay, so in other words, this hasn't pushed this forward or pulled it tight. It's all staying more or less right. So let me walk around the other side and we'll look at how we are for the wheel. Now, if I lay that across there, I've got about a half, 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, I can get my little finger under. So the loop would have just gone to here. So it would have been pressing on the loop, but let's say I don't think we need the loop. So I looked at the video again, I even climbed up on this thing. Now I'm a little more mobile, and I decided I could actually have the hump a little bit further forward as well. So that's what we're looking like. Let's get that right. These tubes are actually have little bends in them, so I maybe put them on the wrong way around. So what we're going to do, yep, that doesn't look too bad. Hang on. These LED lights are really bright, even though I've set the camera at the 5000K temperature. They're still playing havoc with it. So we can put that on there like that. I'll redo these, I'll put a little bend in them so they just come back and follow the seat. So what I thought I would do is, before we actually get to the seat, which I promise we will get to eventually, we could fit a mudguard. And I've got a mudguard here that I think will work nicely. So what I'm going to do is just put a little something on the tyre to hold the mudguard clear. Can we just put a piece across there? See, that's still got a fraction of space. Hang on, if that was down there. As you can see, we're only just lifting that. And we don't need much space under here because we know the wheel isn't going to come any higher. So what I'm going to do is get these right so they come back a little bit, and then I'm going to put a strap over. And we'll mount the mudguard fore and aft. Then when the mudguard's on, we'll put the seat pan back on, and I might, in fact I think I'll have to, just cut a little, where are we? You get up there. Just cut, I'm going to cut that off there. Just cut a little piece out of there, well it'll be like that, for the mudguard to come into. And similarly, cut that like that, so it'll sit nicely onto the mudguard. Might not need to once I've got the mudguard on. We're only talking, you know, an eighth of an inch here, a quarter of an inch there. But anyway, let me do this little bit of frame and the mudguard, and then we'll see to the seat. I haven't done the tubes yet, but I wanted to fit a mudguard. I've got a slim one. Could use a wider one, but I quite like this slim one. And I've got the base of the saddle and the little hump just slightly cut out. I'll sort of refine that so that it fits on nicely. It looks a little odd because the wheel's right up inside there, but I think that looks pretty good. I like the fact I've shortened this a little, and it'll have, we might even put the light on there. I don't know how I'll put the number plate. Might put the number plate right back here, just raised up. The US number plates are only about, oh I don't know, 6 inches by 4 inches. They're quite a narrow one. I haven't got one laid around. So I can put that up there. There's various holes in the mudguard, which I'll probably have to fill up. But anyway, that's what the final look is going to be like. In fact, I'll tell you what, let me, because I don't have to, or do I? No, I'm going to leave that the way it is, till I've got the side tubes done and everything's right, because it's holding the mudguard up where I want it. Okay, let me get on, do these side tubes and make the bracket to hold the mudguard, and then, believe it or not, we can actually start cutting some aluminium to make the seat base. Now what I've done is I've put in 2 short pieces, as you see, and I've angled them back, and that actually follows the contours of the seat, and then put mountings in. So we've got good solid mounting here and a single mounting at the back. We'll put some those nice little plastic plugs in the end of there. Not that you'll see them anyway. But let me pull you back. Now, when I remember what that is. Well, we put this on. As you can see, those disappear under the saddle. And that will go on like that. You can see the little cutaway. I might, when I make the alloy parts, attempt to make that a nice closer fit. So let me move you around the side and you can see what it looks like from there. There it is with the mudguard on, and as I say, I've shaped these back so they follow the contour of the seat, so when that's all finished you virtually won't see them. Funnily enough, just looking at it from this side, there doesn't seem to be much of a gap, but I put this mudguard on, as you saw, with the wheel fully up and with some packing underneath it, so nothing should catch. Alright, while I was in as well, to get this back mounted, I took that piece off the battery carrier, because now the battery's going to be mounted against the airbox, so all that's got to go back on for when we put the battery on. So I think that's looking quite smart. Alright, that's it for today, and tomorrow when I come out we'll cut the aluminium for the base, the two uprights, the skin, and then that's probably going to be about a 40-minute video. We'll call that it for the day. Alright, see you tomorrow.